This is 4 responsibilities of a coach in all sports. The first responsibility is health and safety. You have a lot of responsibility for your players. The younger the players they get, the more responsibility you have for them. Because of this, you have to take a lot of risk assessments. First, aid qualifications and other qualifications. For example, if a rugby coach in one of his trainings, a player takes a knock to the head, then the coach needs to be able to react to tell them if the player is concussed or not, so then he can help them out. If the child was to be concussed or injured, and the child's parents weren't there, then he would have to make sure that the child got home okay, and if he needed to go to the hospital, that he did. You also needed to be up to date on all health and safety tasks. These aren't the only situations that a coach will need to know how to react. As a coach, all of your players need to be equal and have equal respect from you. So if in your hockey training 2 of your teammates have a disagreement and argue, you need to be able to deal with the situation and help it out and not make things worse. Experience helps with this a lot, as you would have past experience where the same sort of stuff would happen and you would know how to react to it. All coaches do training sessions for their teams. To do a training session, you need to be able to use the equipment and use it right. For example, if you're doing a football training that you are focusing on shooting, you need goals in it, and you need to know what to do if there aren't any for your training. For example, if you put poles up as posts. Coaches also need to have a good understanding of the sport and what they are coaching, or they'll find it really hard to improve their players. They also need to have a good coaching style. A good coaching style consists of friendly, hard-working, but strict when they need to be, as this is important so their players prevent from slacking and they can improve themselves. My second responsibility as a coach is equal opportunity. This means that all the players get the same opportunity in sport and that they are all equal. Gender takes a huge part in this sport, as some sports are thought to be more suited to certain genders. For example, football is by some a man's sport. This stereotype then leads to more dominant gender in the sport and has more people starting it than other people in the other gender. For example, at a school netball team you have 30 girls turn up, but then you only have 15 boys turn up for the boys team. This then leads to the more dominant gender getting even more dominant as it has more participants. Also, some sports there is more money put into the other gender than the other one. For example, football, the best players are paid hundreds of thousands of pounds a week in the men's football, but the best women are only paid thousands of pounds a week. This then means the sport having better facilities, more coaches, so there's more opportunities for them. Rules can also change for different genders. For example, in tennis, men play 5 sets, whereas women play 3 sets. Some disabilities can stop people from being able to play certain sports. For example, if you have to be in a wheelchair, you can't play cricket. But recently, there has been change that has changed this. The main example being the Paralympics. This is what people with disabilities compete in, just like the Olympics. Another more specific change is wheelchair basketball. Wheelchair basketball is one of the newest games in the Paralympics and allows people that have to be in a wheelchair to play basketball. Ability can also play a big part in the opportunities that people get. For example, in a rugby team, the best players are more likely to get played than the worst players. This then gives more of an opportunity to play and gain experience, which can help them more in the future. Poverty can also play a huge part in the opportunities that people get for the less unfortunate people, as they won't be able to get themselves to trainings, matches, or even be able to play for a team as they can't afford it. This then means that they don't get the opportunity to show their ability and push on further. The first responsibility is legal obligation. This is how coaches react to the law. Third responsibility is legal obligation. This is how they react towards the law. As a coach, you have responsibility for your athletes' health and safety. You need to know if they already have any problems or if a certain situation happens. You need to be acting in the right professional way. This also includes being able to access a first aid kit and contact emergency service if it's needed. For example, if in the hockey training a player cuts their leg open from getting hit by a stick, you need to be able to help the cut and stop it from bleeding. A coach must also be able to help the players as much as possible, but must not give advice beyond their qualifications, as they may tell them the wrong thing and make things worse for them. If a cricket coach has organised transportation for their cricket players for their away game, they then need to be insured on the vehicle for the transportation. Coaches also are responsible to educate athletes about drug use and abuse and provide general specific nutritional advice for them. The last responsibility is professional conduct. As a coach, you need to know the ethics code for coaching is intended to provide professional standards. Coaches also need to respect the fundamental rights, dignity and worth that takes part in sport. For example, a women's football team with a male coach, the coach shouldn't treat them any different to what he would for their men's team. If in a team that has volunteers playing for them, they can then take advantage of this as they're not being paid. This then means that they're not as professional as other players that are being paid and don't care as much and slack. Coaches should also promote honesty and fair play to have an appropriate coaching staff. All coaches should also respect all the players and treat them with care.